Okay, well, good morning, and I suppose welcome to the seminar, such as it is. Um, Hopefully on the Moodle pages you'll find everything you need for this morning. We're shifting direction into considerations of the aristocracy, and I thought, in a weird sense, for what I wanted to talk about with you this morning, what better thing to do than to come out into a landscape like this? One of the first things we'll talk about, or that you'll get a chance to explore with the seminar materials, is an appreciation for not just the way that the emergence of a sense of aristocracy and the emergence of a sense of class in a recognizable form impacts in a societal sense, it also impacts in a very physical way on landscapes. If I get my directions right, if we look over in this direction, I mean, landscapes like this, ignore the shipping container, landscapes like this, full of things like field divisions, boundaries. I mean, what we're looking at in that landscape there is the enclosure system. And that is, in a roundabout way, a byproduct of the aristocracy, of the landed gentry. It's creating these private spaces. So that's a very clear visual impact coming out of the aristocracy. One of the things I wanted to include in this session was a consideration on the swing riots. Now, the swing riots come a lot later. They're still, just about in our time period, but later on from where we are, 1830 is when they kick off. But that is very much a angry, violent expression of opposition against that nature of enclosure. It's a whole host of other things as well, but essentially, when people start attacking those field systems and ripping down those hedgerows, what they're doing is expressing their outrage and a sense of class, an outrage against those who are oppressing others, taking opportunities away from others as well. So there's that very tangible, physical change in the landscape and a response to it. So that's important. But one of the other things I wanted to give you a sense of in the seminar material was that the sense or the nature of wealth was, I suppose, slightly illusionary, in that there were plenty of people who had disposable wealth and they were indulging in that at in great extent. But what you also see is a desire to live beyond one's means. You see a couple of great examples in there of people going bankrupt, people borrowing very heavily, but also the emergence of an industry to facilitate that desire, to accommodate those who wanted to live beyond their means, to spend in a way that looked impressive to others, but often at the detriment to themselves. So, yes, you had this emerging, wealthy, aristocratic, landed gentry class, but that sense of wealth is, in part, quite superficial, and it is being sustained by those unscrupulous bankers. You have that same narrative that you hear people complaining about today, and you have things like tax evasion coming in as well. So all those narratives which we associate with wealth today are finding echoes in our Georgian period. It's an indulgence putting in the clips about Poldark. I hope you enjoy them. If you do like the show, sorry if you hate it, just skip past them. But the reason I put them in is that anyone who's watched even 2 or 3 episodes of Poldark will have failed to escape the fact that debt and owing money to individuals is a narrative that runs consistent throughout that television series and the publications in their original form as well. The emergence of bankers, the evil Warlegan narrative, much of that is emerging in response to the fact that there's a heck of a lot of speculative industrial work. The mining industry in particular was lucrative to those who got it right. It destroyed those who didn't get it right. And you see that very clearly in Poldark, but it's something that's happening across that aristocratic landed gentry narrative as well. The emergence of what is a World Heritage Landscape in Cornwall, again, has clear links to this time period and is another striking evolution and adaptation of the landscape, in the same way that these hedgerows behind me are a legacy of the emergence of landed wealth as a powerhouse, as a form of influence. You're also seeing it in parts of the southwest of England with the emerging tin and mining industries elsewhere. So probably 3 or 4 themes to really think about, which will give you a sense of the emergence of wealth, but also the fragility of wealth. That might be the best way of thinking about it. When we get into Friday, we'll be thinking about education and culture, but get a sense of the wealth narrative for today. And I'm always encouraging you to think about what is the legacy of these sorts of changes. It might seem mundane to look at hedgerows. It might seem mundane to lament the fact that hedgerows are disappearing, but this is believe it or not, a politically sensitive landscape. When you see hedgerows emerging, when you see enclosures emerging, this is a statement of wealth, it's a statement of authority, but it's also a system of exclusion. And it's always worth thinking about what is the response to that exclusion. Okay, enjoy the materials. There's a nice range of stuff on there. We'll pick up some of this on Friday, but we'll have a discussion about it later on. Okay, enjoy the material. Thanks very much for checking in. I'm entirely confident that everyone's going to have a detailed look at everything that's on Moodle today, and we'll catch up later in the week. My thanks again, for your patience with the recent change of plans. We'll see you at the end of the week, and enjoy the rise and fall of the aristocracy.